water tower next to his wife's Texas home. Now, these water towers, of course, this process of fracking requires a huge amount of water and giant lorries, giant trucks going in and out, back and forth between the water tower and the fracking location, stirring up a lot of dust, a lot of traffic, a lot of potholes in the road.
The economics of fracking are horrible because the cost far exceeds the benefit to GDP from burning the gas that you are fracked. So your debt in the UK will go up as a result of all this fracking. That's just on the economic side. Plus, it takes more energy to frack than you get out to burn. So that strictly on the British thermal unit, the BTU equation, it's net negative. It's like ethanol. The United States is also a net negative. You don't hear much about ethanol anymore because it came and went in a flash, because it was a joke. It was just a way to churn a bunch of derivatives and energy futures contracts to make a few people rich on the commission. Similar with fracking, you've got the Big Six cartel here in the UK. They'll make a quick payday. They'll leave the mess for the government to pay. The citizens will have to have their taxes raised. They'll end up with a lot more debt, and they won't be any warmer, and the price of energy will go higher. It's a net loser. That's just on the economic side. On the ecological side, yes, it causes cancer. Okay, that's all you need to know.
So here is a guy, he's a CEO, one of the largest corporations in the world, the biggest natural gas producer in America, one of the biggest oil producers in the world, of the corporations, not the nations. And he is in a obviously very wealthy area, whatever city it is a $5 million home. The poorest region of Texas, however, is the one undergoing the most fracking, the most new fracking wells suddenly since 2008. And it is known as the Eagle Ford shale play. This 400-mile-long, 50-mile-wide bacchanal of oil and gas extraction stretches from the Leon County, Texas in the northeast to the Mexico border in the southwest. Since 2008, more than 7,000 oil and gas wells have been sunk into the brittle sedimentary rock. Another 5,500 have been approved by state regulators, making the Eagle Ford one of the most active drilling sites in America. Now, that paragraph goes with this headline, Max. Fracking boom leaves Texans under a toxic cloud. This is a poor area of Texas. They're under a toxic cloud. A lot of these drilling sites, 5,500, they don't even have to report to any environmental agency how much toxins they're spewing into the air. And the article follows one woman who has asthma, and she can no longer even go outside. She could barely drive anywhere. That 400-mile wide region, by the way, that is the same distance, I took a little Google map here, from London to Edinburgh. Exactly. So that's the size of this area. That's the size of the area. If you look at the fracking map of the UK, what the planned fracking map is, you see it's about the same size.
Britain took on the Help to Buy scheme for real estate, which is a copycat of the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac debacle, which caused the subprime crisis in 2007. The British energy corporations are going to take fracking on, even though in America it's been proven to be completely uneconomical, an environmental disaster. But they're going to do it here anyway. Because why? Nobody in the media here, except for maybe George Mobiot over there at The Guardian, will say anything about the fact that this is an ecological disaster and, more importantly, an economic boondoggle that will increase Britain's debt to even higher than it is right now, the highest it's been in decades.
Well, you talk about the health problems. Now, this woman that they cover here, Lynn Buring, she has severe asthma, as I said, but as the article points out, people who live close to oil and gas development, whether in Texas's Eagle Ford, Pennsylvania's Marcellus Shale, or Wyoming's Green River Basin, tend to report the same symptoms: nausea, nosebleeds, headaches, body rashes, and respiratory problems. Public health experts say these shared experiences point to a pressing need for improved air monitoring. Quote, "If you have pockets of communities with the same symptoms downwind of several sources, then there is a body of evidence," says Isabella Simpson, an atmospheric scientist at the University of California, Irvine, who studies air pollution around the world. So there's a body of evidence, but because the government and the regulators, by the way, most of them come from the industry itself, and then go back to the industry itself. The regulators refuse to collect any of the evidence, don't ask the corporations to collect any of the evidence, so there is no evidence other than the evidence.
Right, well, you've got a triangle of fraud here, because the government is going to underwrite frackers coming to the United Kingdom by issuing a lot of government debt, that is to say, increase the debt. It's going to cost wave after wave after wave of health-related issues at the same time that they're privatizing the National Health Service, or the NHS. So the government is effectively taking money out of the NHS and giving it to frackers. And when it causes the health issues and the people who are complications of asthma and cancer that are related to fracking, irrefutable proof, they won't have an NHS to go to. But I suspect that the government, under Cameron or whoever else is the next leader, will give them a bond, a fracking bond, that's good for natural gas under certain circumstances, but don't apply to you in this lifetime. And that'll be their recompense for having allowed this to happen.
Well, there are going to be many more Klingons following this because, as Lynn Buring says, her home, where she planned to retire, which was like everybody here, her retirement plan was her home. Well, she can't sell it now because it's in a wasteland, and there's very little sympathy. As the article points out, Americans don't care as long as they get their cheap gas. So the health issues faced by people who live in drilling areas, not just in Texas, but throughout the United States, simply don't carry enough weight to counterbalance the financial benefits derived from oil and gas development, said Robert Forbes, Jr., an assistant professor of political science at Texas Tech University. Energy wins practically every time, he said. It seems cynical to say, but that's how states see it. Promote economic development and minimize risk factors, which sounds exactly like what David Cameron says here to the people here. It's about economic development. We'll try to mitigate risk disasters.
Right, and he's lying. It's about economic catastrophe to give his buddies a big fat paycheck. And that's the bottom line. As the people of Somerset who have been flooded out of their homes, there's no insurance available anymore for your homes. Try to sell your homes. You get doodly squat. Why? Because the government didn't build flood barriers. They gave the money to Barclays, HSBC, Royal Bank of Scotland, and that other frickin' bank in the UK. Tough cookies. All right, we got to go. Thanks for being ever more on this Kaiser Report.
Okay, Max.
Stay tuned for the second half. A whole lot more.